I do have some breaking news coming out that's very important for churches across the United States. And it's in regards to a Department of Homeland Security bulletin that was put out on January 2nd. I'm getting it out to you now because the federal government doesn't feel it's important to warn you. Only law enforcement. Now, before we get started and we start talking about this threat, I want to recognize all the police officers across the country that routinely send me these. It's called for official use only, FOUO. I used to get them as a police officer all the time, but now that I'm retired, I don't get them anymore. And you guys have been wonderful at getting me these bulletins so that I can get the information out to you. They are good Christian men defending the country. They are the cops that we want defending our Constitution. They serve the Lord and they send those to me. So I want to say thank you to all you guys that are doing that. I am also hearing from federal agents that are doing the same. It's important though, if you're going to send me information, if this is you're a federal agent or you are a police officer that gets one of these bulletins, please don't send it to me through regular email. Go ahead and you could either screenshot it off your department computer, meaning like use your phone and take a photo of the bulletin, and then, or you can just summarize it for me and then make sure that there's no track from your department computer in any way. And then go ahead and create a Proton Mail account. And I want you to email it to dopecop, DOPECOP at protonmail.com. If you send it to me there, it's encrypted for all of us. And the FBI in the past has tried to serve warrants on Proton Mail before, and they are not able to get away with anything that is useful. It's also useful that they're based out of Switzerland, besides it being encrypted. And, that's first and foremost, but it's based out of Switzerland. And for those of you that have written search warrants, Switzerland doesn't honor American search warrants. That would be the safest way for all of us. And I'll obviously protect your anonymity because I won't know who you are. So it works out great. I just want to take that time to thank you for serving the Lord and serving our country. Thank you. Now let's get on to the threat that churches are going to face. I knew this was going to be an issue. This comes out of the New Orleans vehicle ramming attack. In that vehicle ramming attack, the first thing I thought was great. All of the copycats are going to go ahead and do this. We have to remember that ISIS told their followers to attack Christian churches in America. They did this quite a few months ago, and people have been following through with that request. There have been multiple attacks. You can go back to ChristianWarriorTraining.com. I did an article on everything that has happened since we raised our alert level to severe, which is the highest level. And for those of you on YouTube, I don't post here a lot because of YouTube's policy. And then also it's a pain to film this, edit it, and then get it up. It's much easier for me to write a bulletin and send it out. There are over 36,000 people that receive that email. And I send out multiple emails a week. I don't spam you. I only send you information like this or training topics. So head over to ChristianWarriorTraining.com. YouTube is the last place that I go when stuff happens. All right. So there was a joint intelligence bulletin that was released, and it was put out by Homeland Security. And if you want to see the actual joint intelligence bulletin, I have redacted identifying information and put it over at ChristianWarriorTraining.com. Go take a look. In that joint intelligence bull, they say that historically vehicles have been used to strike large groups of people, often in outdoor areas like parking lots. Now, once that vehicle breaches the perimeter, it can cause mass casualties in a matter of seconds. Now, for churches, because ISIS has told their followers to attack you, they have been doing that in the United States just in the past few months. I've included some scenarios that I think you need to worry about with these vehicle ramming attacks and churches, because there is now an increased risk. You can look at people trying to ram congregants in parking lots before or after services, or right in between your first and second service. My biggest worry is that they're going to target glass entrances to drive vehicles into lobbies and then drive through the lobby, striking everybody inside. Our churches have to be welcoming. I don't want you to do anything to interfere with people coming to Christ or coming to worship. I always use a good analogy, like especially right now in the beginning of the year, you're fat, you're out of shape, and you want to go to the gym. You are totally intimidated by going into that gym. You may have never been there before. And as you walk up, your stomach is turning. You don't know what to do. You walk in and you feel like everybody's looking at you and judging you. But then after you've worked out for about 6 months, lost some weight, gotten strong, you realize nobody cares. They just want you to come in and get fit. And probably when you walk in and you're fat, they're looking at you going, I'm so glad you're here. Hopefully you get in shape. Let's take care of you. It's the same thing at church, right? You walk in and you can see the newcomer. They come, they're nervous, they're scared. They walk in, their stomach is churning. You don't care. You just want them to come to Christ and you would like to help them, right? The problem is if you turn your church into a bunker because you're worried about vehicle ramming attacks, they will not come. And so we cannot turn our churches into a bunker. We have to remain welcoming. But there are things that you can do to prevent that vehicle from driving through those glass doors because we love our glass doors. We love our glass doors, our open air areas so that people can congregate. I love them too, but we're going to talk about some things that you can do to prevent them from driving through your lobby and killing everybody. The third thing that in that Joint Intelligence Bulletin that they talked about was that there is a history of following up the vehicle attack with secondary weapons like firearms or edged weapons or improvised explosive devices. Now, I have a separate article that I put out this morning about the threat of suicide bombers in churches. And I put all the intelligence in there, what all the people that are in the know, the intelligence collectors, and what they're saying about the potential for suicide bombers at churches. So head on over to ChristianWarriorTraining.com. I will probably do a video on it here when I have time, which is not anytime soon. All right, now this Joint Intelligence Bulletin emphasizes that attacks are often preceded by observable patterns like suspicious reconnaissance of target locations and the use of rented or stolen vehicles. Now, these factors make vigilance in parking lots and around church entrances critical to early detection and prevention. Now, high risks for potential attacks include religious holidays like Christmas and Easter, or Sunday services or large community events, or periods of political or social tension when extremist narratives intensify, which is right now. Now, the first step in securing your people is to have effective security measures. Now, let's talk about indicators of pre-operational surveillance. Now, if you understand the science of pre-operational surveillance, it's going to go a long way. The Joint Intelligence Bulletin said many vehicle ramming attacks are preceded by behaviors that are going to serve as an early warning sign for your safety team people in the parking lot. Now, these indicators are going to reveal the planning and preparation phase of an attack, and it's going to provide an opportunity for intervention before harm occurs. Now, some key indicators to look for would be suspicious vehicle rentals, which you are not going to be able to do. But many of these people are going to use Turo or some other service to rent a vehicle to go do their damage. You're going to want to look for loitering vehicles, vehicles parked for extended periods near church property without a valid reason. Now, drivers conducting test runs or rehearsals, they're going to have abrupt stops, U-turns, and repeated passes by entrances and exits. They might be taking pictures or recording video of church buildings, parking lots, or crowd gatherings. And the latest one, they're going to use drones for surveillance. Now, I have an article in the queue about drone defense for churches. I think this is a growing threat for church security, and I think we all need to get up to speed. I'm probably going to release the article first, and then go. And I think I might do it next week. And then I'll follow it up with a video later here so you can see where you're going to get more information at ChristianWarriorTraining.com in a quicker manner than you are here on YouTube, just because YouTube sucks. You might get unusual inquiries, right? Questions about security measures, event schedules, or high traffic times. Sometimes you violate this by posting it on social media and saying, hey, we expect a large crowd today. We're changing traffic patterns. Be careful. And you're basically letting everybody know. And that's part of that welcoming thing where you don't want to interrupt the welcoming. You just want to be smart about your social media posts. Is it something that's necessary, or are you just doing it to put out a social media post? All right, some secondary indicators might include pre-positioned items near entrances or parking lots that can conceal IEDs. This happened in New Orleans. The guy went out and placed sophisticated IEDs that he did not have good initiators for. And that's why they didn't go off. And also they wouldn't have gone off, but he also didn't get a chance because police unalived him pretty quick. There might be attempts to gain unauthorized access to church premises, like using fake credentials or uniforms to secure areas. Now, look, you need to remain vigilant and report any of these behaviors to law enforcement. If it's suspicious and you start calling your troops and letting them know something's up, you might want to think about calling the police. All right, let's talk about prevention. Let's talk about preventing that vehicle ramming attack so that your people don't get hurt. Now, it's going to require some proactive measures from you from strategic planning, and you're going to have to do some team training. Now, churches are high value targets, so you should be prioritizing strategies to safeguard your people from these vehicle ramming attacks. Now, look, number one, parking lot security. You want to deploy trained monitors outside, and you want to position them so that they can see what's going on clearly before, during, and after your services. You want to monitor your traffic flow. Now, I also have a video on how to use drones in church security. And I went out with a drone and a drone operator to my church just to see how we would, start looking at tactics and procedures, our TTPs, how would we do this? And when I popped the drone up in between services where you have people coming in and people leaving, it was amazing how much ground we could cover by looking at specific vehicles. It was amazing. And none of the churchgoers saw the drone up, by the way. So you can use that drone to monitor that traffic flow and then look for areas where there might be danger or suspicious vehicles. You do want to put up surveillance cameras in your parking lot. A lot of churches just put them at the entrances and at key areas inside. You have to have them in the parking lot. I like having them just not only monitor the parking lot as a whole, especially on the building looking down at the parking lot from afar. It's almost like a permanent stationary drone for you. I like having cameras at every entrance into the parking lot so that you're filming the license plates and the faces of all the people entering. You want to create some physical barriers to prevent vehicles from ramming critical areas. So you're going to install bollards or planters, basically reinforced objects in pedestrian areas and at building entrances so people can't ram those people down. You can do temporary measures for events like temporary fencing, concrete blocks, or park large vehicles during those high traffic events. Now, my church does several big events like trunk or treat, where we have kids all over the parking lot trick or treating. We have car shows and stuff like that at our church to draw people in. If you do something like that, you're going to have to create some temporary barriers. The best way to do that is to, all your good old redneck boys like me that have big diesel trucks, we can use those to block critical areas. You may also want to think about, if you have a congregant that is a trucker, to have them bring their trucks out as blocking areas, maybe not blocking the view, but blocking a car from coming and ramming everybody down. So you would actually separate the pedestrian area where kids are trick-or-treating, or they are, the car show is, or something like that, to make it so that there's a parking lot separate from that. And then people have to walk in, and then you would park large trucks to block those areas. You want to do some behavioral detection, right? You want to train your team members so they can recognize the behavior that we talked about earlier, those abrupt vehicle maneuvers, or drivers conducting reconnaissance, and we want to talk about all that kind of stuff. I have a great video that you're going to need to watch. Head over to ChristianWarriorTraining.com. I have a training class on contacting suspicious vehicles in the parking lot so you don't get shot when you contact those people, and how to defend yourself in a gunfight when you contact that vehicle in case that guy decides to initiate an assault right now when you contact him in the parking lot. I have some great classes. You'll get a certificate. Make sure you allow pop-ups so the certificate won't come. And then take the course. It's super short. It's about a half an hour, 45 minutes. And then you'll get a certificate of training. It is free. If you want to support my ministry here in protecting churches, head over to ChristianWarriorTraining.com. Do a paid subscription that will help me do nothing but this and helping you. So I love all of you that are doing it. Thank you so much. You want to collaborate with law enforcement? Look, if I worked your beat, I would be driving in your parking lot. I see cops driving into the parking lot, flag them down, welcome them, start talking to them. Your beat cop, the cop patrolling your parking lot, will tell you more information than a chief or a sheriff. Those are political appointees. They are worried about their jobs. They will tell you everything's fine. They'll be like, oh, that DHS bulletin, that's no big deal. We're Ada County, where I live. We're Ada County. That's never going to happen here, right? Or your BFE County, whatever. Nothing's ever going to happen here. That's a lie. Okay. Talk to that beat cop. He doesn't care if you get a good one, right? He's going to tell you everything that is going on. He'll probably tell you he didn't get the DHS bulletin because it's the way our federal government works. I pray that Trump gets in there and changes all that. We'll see what happens. You want to conduct joint drills with law enforcement, and you want to simulate a vehicle ramming scenario or practice coordinated responses with law enforcement. Now, look, how do I come up with some of the tactics that I do in training that I give to all of you over at ChristianWarriorTraining.com? One of the things I've started to do is an example. next month, my church is doing CQB1, one man, close quarter battle. I'm going to give you an outline for training and all the material you'll need to put that class on if you have a qualified instructor at your church. All the work is done. So head over to christianwarriortraining.com and go get that free information. But I'm telling you right now, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to go to the parking lot with vehicles and we're going to start driving through how are we going to run our people over. And then we start basically red teaming it, meaning I'm going to attack my church with a vehicle. I'm going to go there when nobody's there and start driving through the parking lot, and we're going to look at our threat areas. And then we're simulating that vehicle attack. And then we're going to start doing the things we just talked about to keep that from happening. Now, you want to have some emergency preparedness, right? You want to create some kind of an evacuation plan so that if there is a vehicle ramming attack, you can get your people out of the way quickly, protect them, and then stop the offender. On a side note, if you're going to shoot a vehicle, it does not help to shoot the engine. It doesn't help to shoot through doors. The only way you're going to get that person, you're going to have, very rarely does it work shooting into the vehicle. So evacuating everybody out and moving everybody works best. But if you do have to shoot, make sure you're shooting through glass, meaning through the windshield, through the side windows. That is from my experience from shooting at vehicles, both in training and then seeing real life shootings in the aftermath of that and seeing how that works. Just my 2 cents. That's a whole nother 8-hour class, but that's my 30 seconds worth, right? Let's talk a little bit about the Lord and what's going on right now, because we have to remember, we have to put the Lord first, right? So we have all these growing threats, but we've got to strike a balance between vigilance and maintaining that welcoming, faith-centered environment, right? Now, Scripture provides both guidance and reassurance for taking these steps. So if you're a pastor watching this and you're like, we don't need to do that, let's go back to Scripture and let's talk about why you do, right? Because Scripture tells us that we have to ensure the safety of our congregations, and we can do that while we remain rooted in trusting the Lord. Now, the Bible calls on believers to trust in God for protection, but also to take responsibility for the safety of others. Now, Proverbs 21:31 reminds us the horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory rests with the Lord. Now, preparing for potential threats is not a sign of fear. It is one of stewardship and faithfulness to God's calling to care for His people. Now, church leaders, you bear a profound responsibility to protect your flock. Now, just as a shepherd safeguards his sheep, pastors and safety team members must take active measures to ensure that their congregation can worship without fear. Now, this includes creating and maintaining a robust security plan, communicating openly with the congregation about safety measures to build trust and confidence. Now, many churches will not recognize that they even have a safety team, even if they do. They will never talk about it from the pulpit. I can tell you if you're a minister and that is you, I'm telling you, your congregation wants to hear that they are safe. So if they see church safety, but you never talk about them from the pulpit, they will always be wondering, like, what do they do? How are they set up? You don't have to talk about specifics, but let the congregation know, hey, there was a DHS bulletin that talked about ramming attacks in large venues. That would be churches. Now, the risk of something happening in our church is pretty minimal, but it's not zero. Now, with that said, just be aware and keep your head up and report anything to security. Security has been trained on vehicle ramming attacks, and we're preparing for that because we want you to be able to come here and worship in safety. And I can tell you a majority of people will feel relieved and they will be happy coming to your church because they know they don't have to worry about it. All of America knows what's going to happen. The Bible tells us something is coming. The Bible tells us that Jesus is coming back and that a lot of bad things are going to happen in that time. This isn't a surprise to us. Now, if you're a minister, you want to ensure security measures do not interfere with the church's mission of being a refuge of hope and healing. Now, it is possible to maintain both vigilance and an inviting atmosphere. Now, security measures like parking lot monitors and physical barriers can be seamlessly integrated into the church's operations without making worshipers feel unwelcome. You want to encourage a culture of awareness and preparedness among staff and volunteers and ensure that security is a collective effort. Now, when we leave here, I gave you everything you need. If you want printed material, you want to look at the bulletin, you want something in your hands to look at, christianwarriortraining.com. Everything is there. and it goes there first before YouTube. You should be subscribed there if you're not. There are 127,000 people that follow me here on YouTube, but only 36,000 at the newsletter. Go to the newsletter. I don't have time for YouTube nonsense. Not like your nonsense, but their political, anti-Christian, anti-conservative views. It hurts, like the stuff that I'm doing, right? So head over there. I am free to do anything I want over at that newsletter. So head over there and I will give you all the information you need. And when you get done going there, I want you to pray for our country, and I want you to pray for the safety of our churches and all of our congregations. And I want you to remember your ABCs. Always be caring.